Reserve list cards continue to get crushed in value, and it's going to get worse before it starts to get better. Hi everyone and welcome back. MTG Moxman here, and thanks a lot for hanging out with me on the channel today. A thank you goes out to everyone who's been subscribing to the channel lately, and we have finally reached the 12,000 subscriber mark. It's pretty awesome, I got to admit. Thank you to the new viewers, my regular viewers, Patreon members, YouTube membership members. I guess we're moving on to 13,000 now, so stay along that journey, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, because we've still got a ways to go to reach 20K, but we're well on our way. Anyone who invested time and money into reserve list cards in 2021 has seen their value crushed. All those cards that got bought out and speculated on just got annihilated in most cases. Cards rose very quickly in 2021. FOMO gripped the populace of Magic the Gathering, and people were buying every card they could get their hands on. They even bought Thrall Champion. It's crazy. Sold Devi Excavations, anyone? Too soon? And the prices have gone down since 2021. Some cards fell like a feather on the wind. They just kind of drifted down slowly. Other cards fell like a brick off a high rise and just smashed back down to the ground as quick as they had gone up. That happens in the market. I've seen it happen before. But now we have Magic 30 coming into the picture and just adding a little bit more fuel to the fire for how some people feel about the reserve list, and if it's going to have future value. And it's going to get worse. It won't happen to everyone, but some people will panic and they'll sell into this. Now in today's card watch video, I'm going to go over some cards I think will have some long-term value, cards I've always enjoyed playing with on the reserve list. Watching and looking at the sheets, showing you how far these cards have fallen in price, should give you an indicator of where they've been, but also where they could go again. Because as cards fall on the reserve list, fast or slow, they never go back to the previous level. There's a long history of them always staying above that, because that's where people kind of bought in. That's kind of where the line gets held. And you never know when these cards will go back up. Wizards can proxy all they want. They can do all that stuff to make themselves money. And it will affect the market in some cases, at least short term. And those who are short-sighted will lose out. I've talked about opportunity in this area of the market. But when you do a card watch video and you're looking at these types of cards, look at how high they've been. Look where they are now and ask yourself if there's the chance for future value or the opportunity to own a card that you never owned before because it was out of reach. It was too expensive. And now because of what Wizards has done and people's lack of faith in Wizards of the Coast, they've left a window of opportunity for some people to get in on. I already know other people who are buying into cards right now because the prices are lower. And in the next 90 to 120 days, you'll probably see prices drop again. So let's go over the video today. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys say, your comments in the comments section. I always find it very interesting to see what the populace of Magic is thinking about and what they want to talk about when they, view my videos. So thanks again, guys. Let's get to this party and let's show you some cards you should be watching. Reoccurring Nightmare is from Exodus. This card almost reached $90 US at its height. Here in Canada, it was well over $100 Canadian. Now, Reoccurring Nightmare is a very effective card for an enchantment. 1 black, 2 other. Think about how low that casting cost is, and you look at what it does. Sacrifice a creature and return Reoccurring Nightmare to its owner's hand. Put target creature card from your graveyard into play. Play this ability as a sorcery. Now, when you're actually looking at the card, sure, you have to sack some creature, but with all the abilities to make token creatures nowadays, that is next to nothing for this thing's low casting cost. If somebody was hoping to get this card, this is the time to get it. It's continuing to fall. It's sub $50 now. The market has it at $45.27. People ignoring cards like this at this price point is just a mistake, but it's a mistake that people are going to make. They're uncertain with what's going on. Some people don't have the extra funds to spend money on cards like this, so they're not going to buy it, which means its price will fall further. People will be looking to get and raise capital, so they'll make it a little bit cheaper. And every 20, 30, 40 days, I bet you this card is going to drop another buck or two. It's just going to keep trending down until it finds its footing. And if you're that person looking to get this card, this is probably the best you're going to have of getting your hands on it. Now, the next card is not a serious card for everyone to be mulling over and teasing me about in the comment section. Commander Gravine Levesque. Now, what I want to point out is this card was $25 US. It's now less than $5. Any low-end reserve list cards, you see how they spiked up and they kind of just fell to earth, okay? There's some little bits where it spiked up again, but it could not hold weight. It could not stay up. And when you're looking at a card that you actually may want to play, you have to see if it can do anything. Now, he is a 7/5, which is pretty respectable, but he does cost a lot of black mana to get him out. But I do like the fact that when he comes into play, you sacrifice a minor creature, no big thing by today's standards, and he can't be blocked except by artifact and black creatures. That's one of those little twists that a lot of people will forget about. And depending on the commander deck you're playing, he actually can still be effective as a throw-in creature just to mess somebody out and make sure they have to think about what you're putting on the battlefield. So for less than $5, yes, I'd be buying this card if I had some extra cash. Buying a playset for $20 when you know it used to be $100, that's quite the savings on a card like that. And many other low-end reserve list cards will continue to fall. The market just doesn't know where to go right now, so this is going to keep happening. Our next card is Yawgmoth's Will, and that's from Urza's Saga. Now, this card has been as high as $500 Canadian. It's now at $208 US as the market price. This thing was over $430. It's now below the halfway mark. Players will start to notice this card again. Yes, it is banned in formats like Legacy, but it is legal in Commander, and I think it's restricted in Vintage. But this card is an amazing piece to have to your collection, and also has high playability when you're in Commander. Even if you're just splashing black in, this card will just make your day. Okay, being able to go back into your graveyard and play all your cards again is just so underrated. People don't realize the power it holds until you've got one and have effectively used it in a deck. This card may go below 200. It's still falling. Nobody's really buying it. The sales are low. If it continues to fall, somebody's going to buy it in that $190 range and kind of stabilize the market. But right now, let it fall, guys. If it's a card you can afford to get, great. Go for the near mint copy. If you just want to play copy, great. Save yourself 20%. But if you're a player who wants an investment later on, you might as well spend the extra few bucks and go for the near mint. Now the next card is Volrath Stronghold, finally falling below the $100 mark for the average price. The market still has it at $106, but that average used to be at like $110. So it is falling in price ever so gently. Kind of knew it was going to fall down. I've always spoken highly of the card because it doesn't come into play tapped. You can tap for mana right away if you need to, but it also has that secondary ability of going back and putting a creature back into play, okay? No, it doesn't put it right into play. It puts it on top of your library, but what I'm saying is a card that somebody thought they had dealt with, at the end of a turn, recycling that and making them deal with it again and using up their cards to deal with that problem over and over while you continue to draw cards and build your base is pretty amazing. People kind of underrate it for that. It's an amazing card. And now that it's finally below that $100 mark, I think we'll see it dip down a little bit further around the $85 mark, and then people will really start taking notice of it. Now our next card. Yeah, we all know one of my favorites should not be banned. I think there's way too many cards that can deal with it nowadays that it should not be an issue for people, and that is Tolarian Academy. Now this card was over the $300 mark, and we all know if it was unbanned, it'd be higher than the Cradle, and we'd be well over $1,000. It has been falling steadily for the last 14 months. It just continues to trend downward. Do I think it'll go sub 100? Yes. I do think it'll continue to fall below. As long as nobody touches it, nobody buys into it. So if you're a person hoping to get this card, you probably can find some heavily played copies below $100 right now on TCG Player. Actually, yeah, guys, anyone using TCG Player to buy any of the cards you see today or any cards in general, please, if you get the chance, remember to use my TCG affiliate link. It's found in the description of all of my videos. And of course, it helps the channel as I get a kickback to buy cards myself. I'd really appreciate it, especially if you're shopping there already. Tolarian Academy, I think on TCG, there were some copies already for $75, $80 for moderately played ones. which is kind of amazing already to see them all falling in price. So if you're a player who's always wanted to have a copy of this card, it's really becoming in reach now. Like, it's not impossible. Now, Suchi is our next card from Antiquities. This card is a little surprising. I didn't expect, with Brother War coming up, I didn't expect this card to drop that much. And as you can see, there's quite a discrepancy in how it's been played in the last little while. It had a real uptick in 2021, a few dips, a few lulls, but it kind of stayed up there, and now it's finally dwindling down in price. This is a creature card, and we used to have mana burn. We worried about cards like this because, you know, you died and it gave you 4 mana. But nowadays, there's lots of ways of killing your creatures on purpose and getting that 4 mana and rinse and repeat over and over again. Very amazing card to have in play, and the fact it's 4 colorless for a 4/4 is an amazing card. Not as they intended back in the day with mana burn, it made it kind of awful, but by today's standards, it's kind of vanilla with a cool secondary ability. Now, this card has been as high as $200. Again, 50% off, and it's still falling, you can see. All the cards I'm showing you guys are dipping in price, and they will continue to fall as long as the market is not sure where it's headed. If the guys who invest in Magic the Gathering, if the players aren't sure, they're not buying cards right now, they're holding and they're waiting and they're holding and they're waiting, and people who have money invested here want to get some of their money out, they will continue to lower their prices because they can't hold on that long. Some players can, but not everyone. Some people need the money right away. And Suchi is one of those cards that you're just like, it's a fun card. I'm surprised it dropped so much with Brothers War coming up, but that's okay. The market does what it's going to do, and in this case, people don't really mind, and they don't really want the card right now. So that means lower prices for everyone who's interested. Candelabra of Tawnos is coming up next from Antiquities, another card that has continued to fall. All right, the market price is still $1289.64. I have seen heavily played copies for below 700 already. 700 Canadian. So if you look around, I'm sure you can find heavily played copies well below the price I'm showing you today, which are for near mint copies. You just got to keep an eye on things, pay attention, and if you find a good deal, grab it if it's a card you've always wanted to have. This card is one of my all-time favorites. We used to use with Mana Flare and stuff back in the day. I still use it now to untap a lot of the specialty lands you control, and there's so many cool lands nowadays to untap that it's just amazing. And a card like this, although it's a higher end card, and it seems out of reach, well, remember, this card was at $3,000, okay? It's way below half, and it's still falling. Is it going to go below 1,000? Possibly. Possibly. Depending on how much people have invested and how quick they need to liquidate their cash, this card could fall well below those levels. People just got to keep an eye out. Now, our next card is Mishra's Workshop. Again, look at these high-end cards I'm showing you guys, but look at the price points. Look how the market is dealing with what's going on out there. Cards like this are losing value left, right, and center, just like Candelabra of Tawnos. They're having a hard time holding value when there's uncertainty. People just don't know if the cards are worth this amount of money. And when you see cards that, you know, were BGS rated going for $10,000 US, and now you can find, you know, copies that are kind of like, don't worry about that market price where it says $4.99. That's ridiculous. But most ones I've seen, moderate to heavily played, Canadian is like $2,800, $2,900. Even to me, I'm like, it's a pretty good price, but I think they can do better. I think this card will continue to fall. And if you're a person who's always wanted this card, I know it still seems out of reach, but it's a lot more in reach, a lot more available than it was a year ago, 6 months ago. It just keeps going down. The trend is your friend. Just keep following this card, save your ducats, and see if it can be a card you can acquire. Now, our next card coming up is Copy Artifact. Now, this has been a card of the channel I mentioned. It was really cheap at like 25 to 40 bucks, depending on the condition. And that was from 401 Games, I think, at the time. And they had like 50, 60 copies. And the people on this channel cleared them out in a couple hours. Over a weekend, it was just gone. Now, this card has been as high as $150, and now it's going for $66 is that market price. Look at that, $66 US. And it's trending down. Look at that little corner there. It's just dropping down, which means it's going to fall further. Nobody's really buying it right now. Same as last weekend when I did the Hot 10, the sales were so low that there was nothing to report on, which means cards like this that didn't get bought, there wasn't 10 or 20 or 30 copies sold, means this one's going to plummet. A lot of the other ones are too, and they have great uses in your decks. Cards like this, like Mirror Maid, is a pale image compared to this thing. when people used to kill this card off, I'd go back and get it with other cards like Skull of Orm because it's still an enchantment. Love that card, man. Love it. Now, the last card I want to share with you guys today is going to be Fork, okay? Now, in the case of Fork, what we have to understand is that card is really good, okay? It has lots of uses. It's been as high as $150. And now you look at this card and see it's all the way down to like $47 US, give or take. When you're looking at that in the market and you see on TCG Player, you can get, you know, moderate to heavily played copies, depending, for like $24. So you can get a play set for less than $100 US, okay? Where before, one cost you $150 and people bought it at that level. Okay, I bought a copy at $70 US for a near mint copy back in, I guess, late 2020, just before things really started spiking. Like, guys, this is kind of crazy stuff to see cards like this cheap. This could be people's chance, because as the market crashes down and crushes the reserve list to a pulp right now in its value, like other stocks in the world, right? All banks are going down, things are going down everywhere. Everyone's trying to find the new footing. How valuable things are. What's the new level with inflation and things we're dealing with out there? It's the same with Magic cards. They're trying to find their footing. And some people are buying on the way down because the price point's right where they want it to be. Other people will wait for it to fall further, and there will be copies available until it goes too low that people just can't pass it up. And then it'll find its footing. It'll find solid ground for most of the cards on this list today. It really is a crazy time right now to be a Magic the Gathering player and wondering what's going to happen next. Just when you think you have Wizards figured out, you just don't know what they're going to do. It's crazy. I don't know. Thank you again to all the amazing patrons on my channel who support my videos each and every day, all year long. Thanks again, patrons. You guys rock. You made it. You're here at the end. Thanks, man. Thanks for being the special people. If you made it this far, of course, you can put that classic Army of Darkness line in there. You know what it's going to be? It's me, Boomstick, because I love my Boomstick. I love it. Guys, I've watched it a few times this month, too. This is the part where I get to jabber and just spit some words out. And you guys are the ones who stick around to the end to hear it. Most people forget. But if I had extra cash and I'm financially stable, there are cards I'd be hitting. Volrath Stronghold, for sure. If you can get it sub-level, even a plague copy, just for future deck building, an amazing price. When I look ahead and I see cards like Fork being that cheap, Anvil of Bogarden, which didn't make the list, I didn't put it on the card watch, but let's face it, it's been going down in price. There's just too many good cards. Reoccurring Nightmare, less than $50, seriously? Some of these cards are pretty amazing, and they're just being ignored because there's just too much for people to focus on. There's too much flash, too much disaster, too much crushing of prices that they don't know what to do. People are like deer in headlights. They're just frozen there right now. Decisive, man. I'm not quite there myself because there's like Arabian Nights cards I want to save up for. But I sit there and go, some of these cards shouldn't be ignored. And they won't be for long. Somebody's going to bite and nibble at this stuff sooner or later. Thanks a lot for hanging out, man. I'll see you guys later.